Hi Brave, my name is Donark. Welcome to a self-commentary of me piloting a Maulus against Macarials, Basilisks and Tengus. I hope by doing so that some aspiring Brave pilots can see what I am doing firsthand instead of just being told to warp out range and jam and then having no idea what to do next or how to survive. I must warn you that I haven't flown much EWAR in a straight-up before, and I adjusted a lot of what I was doing as I was going along. Just a precursor to the battle, I joined the fleet late. I was expecting a straight-up at 1900 Eve time, which was 6 AM for me. On comms, the FC was asking for EWAR, so I grabbed my Maulus from the Fortizar and joined in the battle. Okay, the reason why the FC was asking for EWAR and two types of EWAR was the Mauluses, which I was flying, and Griffins. Now, previously this battle had possibly been going on for at least 30 minutes before I jumped in, and from what I could gather, and the instructions from the SC were that the Griffins were to jam out the Basilisks and the Mauluses were to dampen out the Tengus. Now the Tengus were actually hazing all the Griffins, so that was basically meaning that they couldn't stay on field. So here we go with the footage. You will see that I have warped in and started locking up the Tengus. Now my range had been pretty good to start off with. You'll see there that I'm basically 107, 124, 129 kilometers away from Tengus. This is really good. I choose the closest one, which is the most dangerous to me and potentially the fleet because I'm pretty close to the fleet, and put both my damps onto it. You will notice that my little indicator line is actually pointing up because I'd already aligned before the video actually started. And you'll see here now that I'm just sort of trying to get my bearings, have a look around, see what's available. I decided that I wanted a different align out spot, so I done so. Considered there for a second that I would actually use my micro warp drive just in case I needed to get range, but as I was doing so, I worked out that, I'm at pretty good range. There's nothing sort of close to me that I didn't actually need to use it. Now, we've only been on grid for a couple of seconds, but, there's a lot to think about there. Okay, now I'm actually sort of been on field for a little while. Nothing's happening. I'm sort of expecting somebody to target me. First time in a long time not actually, flying EWAR, not really knowing what's going on, having a look through the enemy list there, just to sort of get a little bit of an idea of what's going on. Sitting here still, and basically I start to get a little bit uneasy because EWAR being on field for that long is really, really rare. You see here that I've actually got my drop down box here ready for somebody to hit me, but they don't. So just a second ago I had the bookmark field up as I was warping off because I decided that I'd been there for long enough and that I didn't really want to be there. I actually dropped that bookmark because it was actually a good spot to warp in from, and I wouldn't be able to get to the same angle that I warped into the fleet at range from, and who knows what happens to the fleet. They could be told to warp out or adjust alignment. Just something for a reference to go back to. Now I've warped out to our lovely tack grid and just trying to assess the situation, find the best spot to get back in. Sporadically looking around. There's wrecks that I can warp to. I sort of look to see, I see some purple, maybe there's a frigate or a bomber in there, don't really see anything, and decide that the wrecks of our fallen Griffins are a pretty good choice to warp into at range. Now you want to make sure that you warp in at range to a wreck because, a frigate enemy frigate might be able to warp to that same wreck and tackle you immediately. You get a little bit of more time if you warp in at range. Now, the first thing that you do when you in EWAR when you land is actually look for a way to get out. So you'll see here that I'm looking and approaching attack there, and here's a little bit of a problem, and it's considered a mistake on my behalf that I decided that maybe there wasn't much that I was doing correctly there with the Tengus, and I didn't really know what the Griffins were doing, so I thought, well, maybe I'll try and dampen out some basilisks, but generally that's a bad thing to do, and I continue doing this for a little while, so we'll just ignore it. You'll notice here straight away that I'm aligned, that my speed indicator is getting towards warp speed. I've already targeted a basilisk, and I've also right clicked on the same bookmark that I'm warping to, ready to warp out at a moment's notice. So dual damps on, ready to warp out, sitting here. Oops, I've taken a little bit of damage and target painted. So straight away, before I can even stop my own video, I've already warped off to the location, and you can see straight away I lined out and I can warp out. Now again, rinse and repeat, assess the situation. Saw that we had an eagle there, possible warp in location. He's obviously a EWAR type as well, a jammer. That's why he was out there by himself. Could possibly be a warp in target, but we can see that he just got popped. Having a look around at the different locations, I thought that that particular attack was below the fleet, but as you can see that as the screen's moved, it's actually right beside me and actually above me, and I'm going the wrong way. But so I was trying to align down to the group, and decided that the bookmark that I left originally was the place that I wanted to go. It wasn't too bad before, we were a little bit close, but that's okay. And immediately approaching location, having a look at another basilisk, jamming him out, getting ready to warp out. It is now that you want to try and get a look at your situation, see if any frigates are warping into you, but you can sort of see there amongst the group that there's no sort of neutral things moving towards me, and everything's looking quite fine. And we just sort of sit here for a while. Oops, more damage, warp away, and let's go. Assess the situation again. Here I'm thinking, yeah, this is early on, and I'm just like, okay, well, I lost a third shield first time, another third again, that I'll go off to the Fortizar and repair up for a little while. At this stage, I noticed that Horde are on their famous tack down below there. Hi Horde. And really in this fight, that Horde hadn't really been mentioned at all. And I was contemplating telling the FC, but at this stage it really didn't seem like much of an issue. But then very shortly, I think local spikes, and we're trying to work out what's going on. Since I'm an EWAR frigate, I'm already away from the group. I actually decided to waste a lot of time in going to HHK, getting some eyes, and that sort of thing. And I actually end up wasting a fair bit of time doing that. Here's the spike now. FCs are just like, what's going on? Who's coming in? Yeah, so I'm actually going to skip forward a little bit. Okay, so here's the actual group that came in. It was a Holy Patel Wars NPSI, but they all had Buzz on there, so really don't know what's going on, but really Tel Wars aren't really much of a consideration here. The fleet was actually called to warp back to the Fortizar at this stage, so no point in me going back into the fight. Actually, here is a good thing. The FC had called for the main fleet to warp, align straight back to the fight, and me as an EWAR frigate that's coming halfway through the fight, I haven't actually gone through my pre-checklist, and I'm on the Fortizar, and I'm going to get warped with the fleet, which is not something that I want to do. My immediate reaction was to actually point the opposite way and double click in space so that I've got some speed, that if the FC was to warp, that I'd have enough time to actually press control space to stop my ship so that I did not warp in with the fleet. I used this time to then go into the fleet finder and flag myself exempt, and basically now I can realign and start working out what's going on. Part of that, I decided that I haven't been to into the field for a little while, so I decided to look onto our Writeratu, whatever you call that, FC Bingo, and get a bit of an idea of what's actually going on in the fight. So here I'm looking around. Okay, the group hasn't really moved too much. A couple of things warping out, but I didn't really look over them because they were sort of frigate-sized things, and I'm guessing it was that MPSI fleet coming in. And I decided that, well, let's go back in. The FC had called warp, so I warped into my attack as well. Looking through the overview for stuff to see and do, and as always, look for an align out straight away. Looking for a target, the basilisks. I'm still bad. I think it still goes on for a little while. And straight away, ready to warp out. Now, I was actually looking for that frigate that's just up and to the right of me and below the thing. Just a little bit of situational awareness. Sitting here, situational awareness. At this stage, I'd actually ran into something that I hadn't worked out for the EWAR frigate, and that was my range. And the funny thing is, I was doing it at the exact same time that it was required. You'll see here that the basilisk is actually 130 kilometers away, and that I had checked my dampening range, which is within 124 kilometers. So really, I'm out of range, and I end up losing lock straight away. Here, I've got two decisions to make. I can either try and burn into the target that I'm trying to damp, or since this is like, you know, a fleet that I haven't been in, or a position that I haven't been in, and I'm aligned out, I'm an EWAR frigate, I'm there to align in, warp out, and all that sort of thing. I eventually go, well, I'm just going to warp out and reset, assess the situation, and go back in and try and damp some more things out. Having a look around, I considered, I don't think I go there, yeah, I considered using that tack, looked at that stiletto, he's a little bit close, and ultimately decide, well, I'm going to go back into that same tack, but this time I'm going to use my micro warp drive to get in a little bit close. You can see there that there's nothing really close to me. That's another little thing to look out for just there. I'm going to go back a little bit. And this is where the home station advantage comes into, is that I've got some ratting tacks in around the place, and it just so happens that the direction that I need to burn in, there is a tack. So yet again, I've aligned, assessed the situation, and looking for a line out. So use that tack to align out basically straight away, but I'm also trying to be very, very aware of where I am. You'll notice that a frigate pops into view in front of me very, very shortly as well. That guy there. So obviously that's a concern to me. I really don't know how far away he is from me, but you can see there that, you know, he's some distance away. Actually, if that's a better view, I didn't see that at the time. He's possibly like 150, 200 kilometers away, as you can see from the tactical overlay, which you should maybe do yourself. You can see down here that that's the tactical overlay that gives you those rings. Anyway, continuing on, I've got my afterburner on. I'm looking there for my basilisks because I'm still bad. 127 kilometer lock range. Keep on spamming, have a look around, see what's going on. Those drones are moving out of the way. And since I've got into the range that I want to be in, I'm going to turn my microwave warp drive off. Now here's the thing, I don't necessarily want to keep on burning in that direction because I'll get closer to the fleet and they will then be able to shoot me more easily. So I'm going to use these lovely tacks up here again to align out. Now I've sort of chosen a line that takes me in front of the fleet. You can see that's sort of a cross path. And I've had a look around and then decided that I want to do something a little bit more straight up and straight down. So 113, 15, 20, and I'm getting to that point of almost disconnect again. And what did I decide to do here? I decided to switch to another basilisk that was kind of closer. I didn't actually get the damps on, there we go. And now I've tried to actually align to something that's cross path, which is what I was trying to say before, so that I'm sort of getting closer to them, but then being able to warp out and that sort of thing, so that I don't necessarily lose the range. Now, it's at this point in time that the FC had reiterated, no, it wasn't the FC, somebody had spoken up and said that the Griffins were being hazed and due to the Tengus, and that's when I've gone, there are other people in the field and on the fleet that I need to actually damp these Tengus out. So I've scrolled down the list to find out where they are, and it just so happens that I have been yellow boxed and targeted. And basically, straight away, warp out. You can see that I missed the click, but it wasn't too bad. And I actually took no damage there, but it wouldn't have been too long until I'd taken damage. Now, I'm actually out of position a little bit here. I don't really have too much to warp to. I've got the old faithful bookmark there, which I decided to warp in at 100 so that I can be a little bit closer. And the idea would be to use my micro warp drive again to get a little bit closer. This time, learning from my mistakes, I need to start getting into the Tengus. Now I had also just done a bookmark because this is a closer forward position, and to do those bookmarks really quickly you go Control B and then just click OK and continue on as nothing had happened. So just assessing the situation here, decided that I need my micro warp drive on, getting towards these Tengus. Burning in, checking to make sure that there's no newts near me. Everything looks pretty good. Trying to target the Tengu. And again, lining up, approach, turn prop mod off, everything damped. Ready to warp out. Now, I'd actually done a couple of things there. I'd been targeted again, I believe so. I'll just go back to that sort of area. Nope. Okay. Actually, I think what had happened here is yet again I had burnt out of the range of the Tengu, dropped my damps, and as before, just warped off because essentially I'm not very useful here at this particular point in time. But it is at this point in time that I've flagged this as an issue and that I need to get it sorted or look for a way to fix it. I also, since this is a forward position, I've burnt out to a little bit and really not too far away from everything. I decided to yet again bookmark this location so that I could warp back in if need be. Okay, so again, assess the situation, and right here I managed to see that we've got a brave bomber going in and bombing the enemy fleet, and I actually use him as a warp in, and it's best off to warp in at 100 at that sort of thing, considering we have 126 kilometer range. Right here I preload a bookmark because, you know, this is a really good bookmark. It's different from what I've had before. I know that I'm going to be close to the fleet, and I give it a unique name. Spam lots of D's for Donark. Anyway, you'll see here that I am actually fairly close to the Tengus. I choose one randomly and start locking it up. Preload the dampeners and again approach location. Now I am actually activating the dampeners by pressing F1 and F2 because that is the hotkeys for it, and that allowed me to continue looking around and also getting ready for my approach location to warp out straight away. So approach location, ready to warp out. Now you actually see there on the overview that the Tengu at 81 kilometers is yellow boxing me. He does this for about 10 seconds before I notice and before I take damage, which is right there. Takes me into about 50% shields. Right here I'm sort of like, what's going on? In the frame before, I could actually see that the Tengu at 83 kilometers was hitting me. So since I don't really know what a Tengu does or how far out, I was taking that as information and building it upon in my library. Okay, so this Tengu was able to hit me at 85 kilometers. Decided to go straight back in there and build up my information. I'm going to target that same Tengu at 87 kilometers, double damp him, a line out, and now let's see what's going on. Decide to put on micro warp drive because it's not really comfortable where I like being. I like being sort of between 100 and 120. And this is where I employ a new technique, basically to get out to about 120 and then start reapproaching, ready to then reapproach the bookmark that I'm looking for. So you can see here I'm lasting a little bit longer. Nothing sort of targeting me. The other Tengus are 130, 140 kilometers away. I've got this Tengu here at 116 locked down. Right now, like I've just described about those distances and all that sort of thing, but you also need to worry about, hey, is there anything burning in towards me? What else is going on? It's very easy to get distracted on one thing as you're doing something new. Anyway, out to 120 again, approaching them again. It's been really good. I've been able to keep these damps on for a long time now, increasing my efficiency. You'll see there that that frigate warped in, so I've got to think about that frigate now. Is he close? Is he going to be able to get tackle on me? Right now I sort of feel as if he's far enough away that he's not going to hit me. If you actually have a look there with the overview, you'll see that little dot. That means that he's probably 70 kilometers away from me. I didn't necessarily look at that during the fight, but I could tell just from playing that he was a little bit away from me. So again, getting ready to warp out. And I took a little bit of damage, did I? Yeah. Took a little bit of damage and decided, nope, I need to know what I'm doing. Considered that actually, yeah, what's going on here is that the Tengu had actually started gathering range. So you remember before that we were approaching, aligning away from the Tengu up to 120 kilometers and then approaching back down to 110 kilometers. And now we're actually approaching our warp out again, except now he's burned into 90 kilometers. So I decided to activate my micro warp drive. You'll also notice that I'm now being yellow boxed by something else again. So micro warp drive, the server tick kicks in, and basically I see that other yellow box and decide, okay, time to get out. And right here we've got that frigate that we were watching before has started yellow boxing me as well. You'll actually see here, luckily in the overview, a stiletto at 46 kilometers. Luckily he's not going to be able to do something for a little while just yet. So we've already clicked warp out. We're pretty good. That cruiser that I hovered over just a second ago actually stumped me for a little bit and I was kind of confused. I'm going to go back there. So quick warp out and mouse over. You'll see there that it's a Giller. And that really confused me because I was expecting a Hugin or a Tengu or something like that cruiser sized. So all of a sudden I've gone from thinking about turrets and dampening to, oh, it's a Giller. Where's his drones? Took a couple of seconds to work out what's going on. Of course, a Giller, I believe, can only have like 2 drones, but they are super strong. So again, assessing the situation, seeing what's going on. My Tengus, and what do I do here? Yeah, I decide to sort of reposition a little bit. Warping to another bookmark. I think this is one of the ones that I warped out with prior. And down to my special bookmark that I made before, which is close. Now, because I'm sort of above everything, actually I don't know whether this is a good idea, to be honest. Just looking at that now, probably should have warped in at 100. We'll see what goes on here. Again, a line out no matter what's going on. And believe it or not, we're actually in a pretty good location. Now, again, not really knowing what's going on or how effective I'm being, and whether any other molluses are actually able to do what I'm doing. I didn't even know if there was a channel for EWAR because I came in halfway through. That I thought, well, maybe I could be doubly effective by locking up these 2 Tengus that were fairly similarly spread apart and basically damp 1 each. And again, aligning out. We'll just sort of see how that goes. Considered using my micro warp drive, but I didn't really need to. Ready to warp out. That second Tengu is 120 kilometers away, so we start doing our little approach back in. See what's going on. A little bit of an assessment of where I'm going to be lining back out. Also here gives me a little bit of time to check to see what's going on around me. Looks pretty clear, something's warping in, and boom, we have yellow box and a damage not long after. And basically this is almost the worst sort of position to be in, because at the moment we're approaching this particular Tengu. You can see that our speed is basically at maximum, and essentially we're being target painted and we've been damaged. So you can see here the server tick to warp out, speed reducing, and then it has to build back up, and another damage and off. So that can be the difference between EWAR living or dying, is that I took 2 volleys then, and potentially could have allowed somebody else who was slow to lock to also hit me as well. So if I was going to die, that's probably where I would have died. Now at this point in time, I'm looking yet again for a different angle of attack, because I didn't really like that, where it came out and all that sort of thing. Again here, I'm still sort of not knowing what's going on. I really think that my other bookmark is not really worth using. It's basically right in the middle of everything there. And so I decide to... warp to a wreck at 100. At this point, I'm sort of thinking, okay, where can I run out to? I'm at a little bit of a different angle. You know, already before warping, before initiating warp, I'm already looking for a way out. And straight away, an old ratting site. I always get my ratting sites, and I am aligning to first thing. Now I'm having a look at how far away I am from everything, and I am in trouble. I am 60 kilometers away from a Tengu. Knowing from before that a undamped Tengu was about 87 kilometers could hit me, this guy definitely can from the knowledge that I've got. So decide to lock both of them up, put dual damps on the closest one, because if anybody's going to do any damage, it would be him. Now you'll actually see here that somebody else has already yellow boxed me. Pretty hard to see, but I am already yellow boxed, and almost instantly, here we go, we've got a web on us. So that must have been some sort of Force Recon ship, Lachesis, Hugin, something like that. And we don't have any damage from anything else, but we've got yellow boxes from our Tengus again, I believe. Yep, yellow boxes, server ticks coming in, and essentially it's time to get out of there. Right there, I had actually tried to bookmark that location. It was obviously a secondary objective. I needed to get out of there straight away and didn't have enough time to Control B and click OK. So I just cancelled that. At this stage, I believe that the fleet's being asked to align back to the station. So I'm sort of considering, well, do I align back to the station myself? I'm running around, and ultimately I decided that I wanted to go back in, because I am EWAR, I'm a frigate, I can go in there to a place that I'm sort of safe, and just assess the situation and see if maybe I can help somebody get out. So warped into 100 to that named bookmark, and we will see what happens. Essentially, I'm looking to maybe be a hero and save a maelstrom that may be tackled and screaming by a lone frigate, and maybe I can damp them out so that they drop point. But as you can see, I'm a little bit far away from my initial Tengus, and to be honest, I'm a little bit confused. We'll just go back a second because it's a pretty important thing that I've just done. So I was just explaining that I was pretty confused, a lot going on. I'm really not comfortable in this situation. I can't do my main objective, which is damp out the Tengus, but you got to remember that I was damping out the Tengus so the Griffins can live, so that they can jam out the basilisks, so then the DPS can, you know, shoot things that don't catch reps and they can die. But our DPS is all on the Fortizar except for the stragglers. I consider I've made a lot of mistakes here, but I hadn't aligned because I had been clicking a line before I'd actually exited warp. So I'm actually sitting there. I've actually activated my micro warp drive, sitting there doing nothing. I scroll up twice just then, and I can't find the Fortizar because it's underneath all the different ships there. So I decide to use the travel tab, and here I choose an Astro House. It's like, no, I want the Fortizar. Approach, approach, approach. Let's get moving. Let's reassess the situation again because I'm a fair way out from everybody, and now I've got my Fortizar. There's a bomb going off away from me, yellow box, red, and basically, even though he missed, time to warp off. I've been spotted, I've been found, I'm EWAR, I need to get out of there, and you can see the rest of the fleet sitting there. And this is where it ends. For my EWAR frigate, we basically try to reship into Canes, lots of decisions being made. We do unfortunately lose the engineering complex. I did not zoom in correctly to show that. It just shows as an orange sort of haze and glow because really I wasn't worried about big explosions. I was worried about what DPS ship can I get in there to help our capitals, which are still tackled. And unfortunately I have some images of that, so let's just end it right here. I hope you guys have learnt a little bit about my thought patterns. It's not perfect, as you can see, but you can sort of see the couple of different things that I learnt through there. I'd already had the whole go in and, you know, warp in, aligned out, keep at range, assess the situation. Then I started sort of like, okay, how can I hold on to this a little bit more? And yeah, started doing the approach and that sort of thing. Kaboom. And that's it. All right. Fly safe. See you later. Goodbye.